So, my hair's kind of doing whatever it wants today. I don't even know where to start, really. I'm going to try to sum this up. The school district in which I live, like a suburban city environment. It's not like Detroit or New York or anything like that, but it's a decent city environment. They have decided that because of budget cuts, they are no longer going to bus kids that live within a mile of their school. And that's understandable. I get it. A lot of school districts do that, especially to push passing levies. I've heard the argument that on occasion school districts will do something that directly negatively impacts the parents of the students in hopes that it kind of lights a fire under them to pass future levies. I get that that's typically a normal practice, but it's not really an ethical one. And I think in this day and age of information available at our fingertips, it's also not necessarily a necessary one. That was a bad sentence. It is not a necessary course of action. But all that aside, the way that my school district is set up, there are 5 schools that teach specifically kindergarten through 2nd grade. When you put on a map a 1-mile radius out from each of those schools, just the ones that have kindergarten through 2nd grade, so we're talking ages 5, 6, 7, and occasionally 8-year-old kids. It covers nearly the entire district. The particular school that my kindergartner and 1st grader go to now only has 2 buses that bus to their school. And I know that there is so few of the student population in that school specifically of kids who qualify for busing, because my 1st grader who rode the bus last year thinks that we're not letting her ride the bus this year, and she feels like she's being left out. Because she's a 1st grader. She's a 6-year-old. It's a change of routine for her that feels like she's now being left out of something that she wasn't left out of last year. That's coming from a parent standpoint in the feelings of my child. In reality, I cannot have my 5 and 6-year-old walk 0.6 miles on their own to their school. They cannot walk that on their own. That is 2 blocks up, 4 blocks over, cross a main street, 3 more blocks over, and 2 more blocks up. And crossing guards are only stationed at the intersections closest to the school by 2 blocks. So by the time they get within a block or 2 from the main road, there are no more crossing guards that are legally required. I'm going to tell you a little story. We all walked, and it is walkable, I've done it. Not in the snow, or the rain, or 5-degree weather, but we all walked to their open house before school started. Me, with a stroller that had my 2-year-old and my infant, My 10-year-old holding my 6-year-old's hand, my 11-year-old holding my 5-year-old's hand, and we all walked to the school. Not a problem. On our walk back, before I even left the school property, I had a car honk at me, and then when under my breath I said, "Geez, I wasn't even in your way," she stopped, rolled down her window on open house while tons of kids are around, and decided to say, "Do you got something to say to me?" So I immediately was like, "I'm not doing this in front of my kids." So I was like, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm hot, I'm tired, and, we have a little bit of a walk home. I apologize." She instigated again. So I said, "I apologize. I'm sorry." And she instigated again before she decided to just roll up her window and move on. In front of all of my 6 kids. People are crazy, glossing over it. We get to the main street, crossing the main street back to our house. I have taught my kids, like everybody teaches their kids, besides stop, look, and listen, when you're at an intersection that has a walking sign, you wait until the white walking man comes up. So we're all standing there on the corner. Me with a double stroller, 10 and 11-year-old, 6 and a 5-year-old. You can't miss us. You can't miss us. We're all waiting patiently because they know the rules. Light turns green. Walking man comes on. We all take a step or two forward until I scream and hold him back because the construction truck that was right next to us, that could plainly see we were standing there waiting to cross the street, decided to make a right turn anyhow. Took such a wide turn to purposefully avoid us instead of letting us cross, that the entire other lane had to back up because he took the turn too wide. Mind you, the window to this man's truck was above my head, and I'm 5'3". If my kids were walking alone, 5 years old, 6 years old, waited for the walking sign like they're supposed to, and started walking forward and didn't notice the truck, was still trying to make an illegal right-hand turn, there's no way the truck would have seen them. There's no way. And the school expects me to do that with my kids in rain, snow, 5-degree weather. Those are all minor details. School starts. So we have to change our routines. My fiance is dropping them off every morning, and my father-in-law is picking them up every night picking them up every day from school. On the second day of school, a kid almost gets run over right in front of the school by a car that's speeding past faster than 25 miles per hour, but even in that case. Apparently an entire crowd of people gasped and screamed, and the father of the child that almost got hit by the car chased the car down. So, day 2, child almost gets hit by a passerby car who doesn't care and can obviously see the flood of children. Today, drop off. They don't have their stuff together so much that drop off has been different every day, and my kindergartner is never going to learn a morning routine. He's never going to know where he's supposed to go if it changes every morning. And it's a mob of crazy. This morning, when he dropped them off, and they proceeded to the crossing guard that is standing at the intersection directly in front of the school, since the crossing guard had so many kids to keep track of, and it's not her fault, my son's started taking a few steps into the road and almost got hit by the school bus. Luckily enough, my fiance happened to turn back around after dropping them off, and he screamed and ran to get him. Crossing guard didn't even notice. And it's not like he ran maliciously into the road. Crossing guard was overwhelmed. Too many kids to keep track of. Crossing one road in front of the school where there really shouldn't be any traffic when there's buses to begin with. Probably the safest road amongst all of them to cross. And a bus almost hit my son. That's just my school. So I was so furious, I called the Board of Education today and I talked to the Safety and Security Administration liaison. And she was appalled by it. She said that there are actually a number of complaints, safety-wise, being made. And I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse and complaining. But here's the thing. I get cutting transportation costs. I do. I get that. It happened to me when I was in high school. It happens to every school district. There's not a school district that has ever existed that hasn't had to deal with budget cuts and that hasn't had to deal with transportation rearranging. But when you know you have schools that only have 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, okay? They should be the ones continuing to have access to busing. They just should. All of the safety concerns, all of the blobs of people, all of the routine adjustments, all of the mess of trying to organize 75% of the students drop off and pick up because they no longer ride the bus can all be solved by just restoring bus transportation for children that are 5, 6, and 7 years old. That's it. Kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade. Still allow them in the inner city that we live in to qualify for busing. Another fun fact,